Alright everyone, how are you all today? Hopefully you're good. It's the start of a big day, I guess. Every time Celtic plays big to an extent. It's another game tonight, another game at Celtic Park. And we're welcoming the third best team in the country to our wonderful grounds. So it should be a challenging game for us. We're going to be building ahead to the game today, but more so discussing other things because there's a hell of a lot to chat about. A big thanks to the literally hundreds of you that have subscribed to the channel over the past 24 hours or so. People like, and get ready for a fright if you've recently subscribed, Paul Garvey has just leapt out of his skin. And who will I go for? Paul Murphy. One more. Jim Clark. Great name. Lovely to have you with us. You have helped us get very close to 12,000 subscribers. So thank you and welcome to the winners enclosure here at Celtic AM. If you're not yet subscribed, you know what to do. It's completely free. We did have press conferences yesterday. We had Brendan Rodgers. We had Arne Engels. No surprise that the managers' conference was dominated by, I guess, kind of follow-up questions based on his comments he made after Sunday's game. I think of the 16 questions that were asked, I think 12 of them were centred around those topics, if you include some stuff about Greg Taylor. So it's fair to say that it dominated it. Don't worry if you think we're going day 3 of this. It's not happening. I think day 2 was a stretch, if I'm honest with you. We're not going into all of this stuff again. But I do need to just round up the fresh stuff that was said by Brendan Rodgers, or a few of those things. He was relatively keen to move on. Clearly was making no apology for saying what he did. And I think it's fair to say that he holds a fair bit of frustration towards sections of the Celtic support at the moment. You can just get that vibe from various things that he said. He kind of made a remark about he'll do his time at the club and hopefully do really well, and then he'll wait for the next manager and he'll expect scintillating football every single week. So he holds a little bit of resentment, I think it's fair to say. Again, you can have your thoughts on that. He said everyone has the right to air their emotion and feelings. I agree with that. Just depends how you do it. And his big quote that's been reported, "I'm not going to beat about the bush when I'm talking about the bush." He was asked what he expects the reaction to be from supporters at tonight's game. The supporters will support the team, he said, and he left it at that. He did say that positivity in the ground can really inspire the team, can be really important for the team, and he brought up the example of Swansea City as well. A bit different to Celtic, but I'm sure Brendan Rodgers will know that. And hopefully now we can all just move forward from this. And that's a cut. I don't even know if they say that in the movies, but that's me drawing a line under all of this. Just briefly, Greg Taylor, the reason he rushed in after the game on Sunday was to get treatment for his nose. He took a pretty bad bang on the nose late on in the game. So it wasn't like he was in the huff with the Celtic support because we were singing about Kieran Tierney. Taylor is fine, by the way, and could well feature tonight. In terms of Arne Engels, his press conference was pretty good. He's pretty impressive. He's only 21 years old, comes across really well, thinks about what he's saying, thinks about what he's doing. I really like him. I think he's played really well in recent matches as well, and I would have him in the team for tonight. I want to see more of Arne Engels. Didn't cover anything, earth-shattering in his press conference, but he had various things to say, and as I say, I think he always thinks about what he's saying. Pretty polished in the media. He's clearly had some pretty good media training at Club Brugge, probably. So that was the press conferences. Interesting stuff. I do want to move on though, because there's been a few other news stories, and I think it's pretty much all transfer related stuff. Now, Brendan Rodgers basically confirmed that Stephen Welsh would be heading out on loan imminently. He's heading to the Belgian Pro League club KV Mechelen. That's been reported a fair bit in recent weeks, but it seems like that is a matter of when and not if Stephen Welsh will be departing on loan. Brendan Rodgers said, "Stephen's a player that's pretty much been a part of the fabric of this club for so many years. He's one of the guys that helps create the culture because they've come through the system, but there also comes a time when they need to look at their own career. So there's a possibility that he'll go out on loan. It's not confirmed yet. Possibility, I'd say it's certainly more than that. It's more of a probability, and probably even more than that. So yes, Stephen Welsh will be moving out. I think that makes sense. He's only featured twice this season, so it's not like we're losing someone who's been playing regularly for us. And I think for the good of his own career, it's good that he gets out and plays more regularly. And you could argue maybe it should have happened a few years ago, but I think there's always been a bit of a reliance on Stephen Welsh because he's kind of ticks that homegrown box as well. And he's been generally a pretty reliable player, I would say, and a pretty good guy as well by all accounts. Hopefully he goes on and furthers his career. The kind of other bit of this that again was confirmed by the manager yesterday is that academy player Dane Murray has been recalled from his loan at Queen's Park and will now effectively take Welsh's place. So he'll become the fourth choice centre-back behind Cameron Carter-Vickers, Austin Trusty, Liam Scales. He'll take on Stephen Welsh's responsibilities, which means that we might see him once or twice in the second half of the season, but then again, maybe not. And I know you're probably shouting out Mike Narovski's there as well. Well, I think he might become Mike Narovski. Like that one. Because I think he's going to be Offski. But yeah, good stuff all round, I think. Stephen Welsh hopefully goes out, does well. We can get a bit of money for him. And more than anything, he just goes on and has a good career. Clearly not going to quite make it as a starter at Celtic. I think that's been pretty obvious for a few years. But opportunity now for a slightly younger guy in Dane Murray to maybe make that breakthrough. Seems to be quite highly rated. He clearly is if he's been given this opportunity to become one of the kind of centre-backs that we can look at. Right, so I think that's centre-back stuff summed up. The other transfer stuff is, and there has been a bit of speculation in recent weeks about Jota potentially returning to Celtic, and I guess like a lot of transfer rumours, it comes about because certain things line up, and the fact that we need to bring in a left winger, and it's very much apparent that we will be signing a left winger in January, and also the fact that Jota's fallen out of favour at Rennes and has generally endured a pretty tough time of it, not financially, but as a footballer since he left us a couple of years ago. And obviously there's this kind of sentimental aspect of it. People want to see Jota back, and I'm actually part of that. I would love to see Jota coming back to the club. I loved him as a player, but I don't think it's one like several years down the line where he'd just be coming back for sentimental reasons. I think he is a guy who could come in and like improve the first team, and I think it would make a lot of sense. However, and it is a big however, the Daily Mail are reporting last night that we are focusing on other targets. That's a quote, and also a quote. Jota feels he has done his time in Scottish football. So it doesn't seem like a return for Jota is on the cards. I guess the Kieran Tierney stuff always felt a little bit more likely given his contract situation, and most importantly the fact that he has worked with Brendan Rodgers in the past and they have a relationship. Jota and Rodgers didn't ever actually work together, did they? Jota, I think, was still technically at the club when Rodgers came back, but I don't think they would ever have even had a training session. So, doesn't appear like that's going to happen, certainly from those reports from the Daily Mail. They do, however, say that Michel-Ange Balikwisha, the Royal Antwerp winger, is a more realistic target. They say that Royal Antwerp will potentially look for around £5 million for him, so we could clearly afford that. I would need to find out more about him. We were linked with him in the summer. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit put off by certain injuries that he's had. I think he's had kind of pretty bad muscular injuries at the start of this season and last season that scuppered potential summer moves for him, and I think he's maybe picked up another injury in recent weeks as well, so I'd be a little bit worried about that. But yeah, he's someone that Celtic are aware of, clearly. I think that's been confirmed that we were after him in the summer. So he may well be the guy we go for. Or it may just be a new name like Nicholas Kuhn. We hadn't really heard of Nicholas Kuhn before we signed him this time last year. It is worth just reminding you that we can't register any new signings for our final 2 Champions League phase matches. So the Young Boys game and the Aston Villa game. So I guess in a way it means that Celtic aren't in much of a rush here, because if you were looking at January and you were maybe saying, right, those games are what you'd want a player to be in for, we can't register them for the Young Boys or Villa games. So as I say, I guess Celtic are going to be taking their time with this. Hopefully not till the last few days of the window, but I don't know, nothing really imminent. Brendan Rodgers did say yesterday that there's some things going on in the background, a wee bit of progress, so that's positive. Just on Kieran Tierney, by the way, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta, who I love him, so charismatic, that guy. He was asked about him in the lead up to Arsenal's League Cup clash against Newcastle United that they lost. Great news. Can you tell I really don't like Mikel Arteta? It's actually nothing to do with him playing for Rangers and taking an EBT all those years ago. I just don't like the guy. I find him completely boring. Clearly a good manager, but, you know, is he that good? What are Arsenal going to win? Anyway, sorry, I digress. He quoted as saying, this really is a quote, you better sit down for this quote: "There is absolutely no news. Kieran is our player." Well, luckily for us, if we are going to sign Kieran Tierney in a pre-contract, we don't actually need to go through Arsenal in any way. It's between us and Kieran Tierney. If we do want to sign him this month and have him playing for the second half of the season for us, we will then clearly need to make an offer for Arsenal. Doesn't seem like a very Celtic thing to do. I can't remember us doing it in many occasions in the past. Certainly not for a player of the calibre of Kieran Tierney. So I think the most likely scenario is Tierney signs a pre-contract and is with us next season, and that's kind of the story. But maybe Celtic will prove me wrong and get him in. Right, a couple other wee things. I did notice that Johnny Kenny was back in training yesterday. I saw an image of him at Lennoxtown, so it'll be interesting to see if he's in some matchday squads going forward. And I lied because it was just one wee thing. We move on to tonight's game. It's Dundee United at Celtic Park. They are going very well this season. They're actually third in the Premiership at present and having a really good season. Given that they're a promoted team, being third is excellent. Obviously, Aberdeen's form has had a bit to do with that. I think Dundee United were well behind Aberdeen just 5 or 6 weeks ago. Aberdeen have really crumbled. But Dundee United going along well. Held us in the last game at Tannadice. Brendan Rodgers said yesterday he would expect things to be a bit different at Celtic Park and when we have a full squad of players available. Apart from James Forrest, he's the only one who we know won't feature in tonight's game. So in terms of my predicted 11, I kind of struggled with this a little bit because part of me's thinking he'll clearly rotate because he tends to do that from game to game, but also there's a bit of a test tonight. And like a month or so ago, when you looked at the other options we had, like the players that hadn't started the previous game, you'd be going, right, bring them in. And I know we've kind of moved on from Ibrox, but I don't know if I particularly want to see Real Hattati start the game tonight. I'm just being totally honest with you. I think I'd rather see a midfield of what I've gone for there with McGregor, Bernardo, Engels, or potentially McCowan in there. Clearly, centre-backs, Carter Vickers, Trusty, I've said yesterday they need to play together. I think I've had Vai in my starting lineup, predicted lineup for like the past 8 games, and I don't think he started any of them, but he's in here again. So Schmeichel, Johnson, Carter Vickers, Trusty, Vai, McGregor, Bernardo, Engels, and then a front three, I guess, of Kuhn, Kyogo, Maeda. Yeah, I mean, I thought could he maybe put Yang in today, but Yang didn't do very well against Dundee United last time, so who knows. Team should be good enough though, regardless. Official-wise, Kevin Clancy is the referee. The assistants are Graham Stewart and Colin Drummond. We've got Stephen McLean on VAR and Alan Mulvaney as the assistant VAR. And yeah, just generally hoping that the team can get an early goal tonight. That's something we were doing at the start of the season. we made a bit of a habit of it right at the start of the season, getting early goals, and I think it really opens up the game. And it's not happened as much recently, especially kind of games at Celtic Park generally. A lot of them have been, to be fair, away from home as well, a lot of them have been goalless at half-time, and I would really like to see the team go out and get that early goal tonight. Clearly, it's not like they've not been trying in recent games, it's just not happened for whatever reason. But I think it does make such a difference, especially against a team like Dundee United tonight, who are clearly going to be very defensive, very difficult to break down like they were at Tannadice. If we just get that early goal, it makes such a difference to how the game goes. So hoping things turn out that way. I think we'll be fine. And chance to go 16 points clear is a pretty big one. It's just another step towards hopefully winning the league. So I hope you enjoy it if you're going along to Celtic Park tonight. I'm sure it'll be a pretty good crowd, pretty good atmosphere. It's always nice under the lights. I'll be getting up early to watch it in the morning. And shortly after that, I'll be recording a video, I believe, with Stevie. So that will be dropping for you 7 a.m. Thursday morning. Thanks, everyone.